Are you ready to make a crispy, cheesy 80s snack staple in a whole new way? The tuna melt is back, and Chef Paul Lillakas is here with his modern take. And you know he's going to do it well because it's Chef Paul. But we also know that cheese and fish can be a controversial combo. So we took a poll of our viewers and we asked, should seafood and cheese ever share a plate? And 63% of you said, heck no, swipe left. Oh dear, okay. 16% voted kind of weird, but I'd try it. And 21% of you are all in. You're saying, yes, please. You have to try it, people, before you judge. Paul, you might have to change some minds today.
I've heard about this before. I don't get it because some of the most iconic seafood dishes pair cheese with seafood. Think of lobster thermidor, cod au gratin, even shrimp Alfredo. I think sometimes people are a little afraid of big flavors, but not me. I'm always a fan of bigger flavor, and this is one of those examples where it's got lots of flavor, but it's well balanced. The tuna melt, come on.
Come on, people, it's a tuna melt. So let's let the viewers know what they're going to need to make this gourmet upgrade. You need, obviously, tuna, mayo, some celery, garlic, fresh herbs, some hot sauce, lemon, cheddar, and rye bread. So first off, the tuna in oil, which is what you're asking for, Chef, is an immediate upgrade. Is the oil about flavor, or is the texture a bit different?
So it's kind of both. So I like a Italian tuna, leave it to the Italians to make wonderful food products. Italian tuna packed in olive oil, and tuna that's packed in water, a lot of that tuna flavor just gets sucked out into that water that goes right down the drain. But when you have it packed in oil, it retains that flavor, and it's got a nicer texture, so you don't have to use as much mayo. And also, you get this wonderful byproduct, a lightly tuna-flavored olive oil that you can use to make a really banging Caesar salad dressing or a vinaigrette for a niçoise salad. You can use it to cook a tomato sauce. So definitely don't throw that out. So it's kind of a dual-purpose ingredient.
Oh, I love that. Okay, how do we get started, Chef? And while you get started, tell us, did you grow up eating tuna melts?
Oh, totally. This was like my 90s treat. And I actually have a friend who one time at a dinner party, she's like, guys, I have come up with the best thing. It's tuna salad on toast, covered in cheese in the oven. And we're like, yeah, that's a tuna melt. Where were you? Like, I hate to be the one to break it to you. Anyway, it starts with a tuna salad, and we're just going to bump it up with some ingredients, some flavor bombs, as I like to call them. A little bit of mayo, some Dijon mustard, some hot sauce for acidity and a little bit of heat, some garlic, grated or minced, and celery. You can't have a tuna salad without some minced celery, and of course, some chives. Now, I'm balancing that richness also with fresh herbs, so some of that onioniness, I'm going to save a little of that for on top. Some dill, my favorite. This is classic with seafood, and it really, again, just helps bump up the freshness. So I'm going to give that a stir, add a little sprinkle of salt, and some fresh cracked black pepper. Not too much, because we've already got some salty ingredients, and some lemon zest. We don't really have to add more vinegar or acidity to this, but a little bit of that zest, again, pairs beautifully with seafood. And now I'm adding 2 cans drained tuna packed in olive oil. And now we're just going to give that a light toss. Again, you don't want this to turn to mush. You want a little bit of texture. And it's got crunchiness. It's got creaminess. It's got big flavor. It's got freshness and that wonderful tuna flavor.
It's already better than, all of the tuna sandwiches I made throughout university, because tuna is nice and cheap as chips, and I would get so many cans of that, and too much tuna. I haven't done it in a while. I would do tuna again the way you're doing it. I want all those things in there. And I also want the bread. So I love the fact that you're using dark rye for this recipe. What do you like about dark rye?
Again, big flavor. So we're doing a little bit of a tuna melt upgrade here. So I've toasted some rye bread. It's got that nice color. It's got much more flavor than a white bread. And after I toasted it, I've taken a garlic clove and just rubbed the bottom of it. So that bottom that hits your mouth first has a little bit of that garlickiness to it. And now we're just going to top the slices with our mixture. And then we're going to top it with cheese, of course. And we want that cheese to go over the edges of our tuna melt, because what we're going to get is a nice lacy skirt of cheese around the edges.
I like that you called it a lacy skirt. I was already into it, but then you called it a lacy skirt, and I'm like, I almost like those parts better than the stuff that's on the tuna. It's so good. So I'm going to bring everything down to Tracy Moore level now. Could you use the pre-grated cheddar for this? And does it hurt you that I just asked you that? Can you just get the pre-grated cheddar that you buy from the grocery store? Come on, chef.
Daggers. I mean, you could. In a pinch, you could. But let me tell you, a fine grate, which you'll only get by grating it yourself, is what you want, because I'm going to let it spill over the edges. And if you want it to look nice and lacy, you'll see what I mean when I take it out of the oven. You want that fine grate. So I've bought some aged cheddar, plus the aged cheddar just tastes better. And so what I'm doing is, I'll show you on one here. I'm going to take the time to make sure you got a nice parameter around the edges of the toast here. And then it goes into a preheated oven, 375 for about 10 minutes, until that cheese around the edge is nice and crisp, and on the top it's just melted. It doesn't have to be piping hot. So I'm going to put that into the oven, and I've already made a couple, which you do want to let rest, but look at these.
Look at that lacy skirt.
And I've just let them rest for about 5 minutes. Lacy skirt, right?
Look at that lacy skirt. Okay, so you have to let it stand 5 minutes, people, and this is going to break my heart to have to wait 5 minutes before I, eat that. Why do you want it to sit for a little bit?
It's worth it. I want it to sit so that that cheese around the edge hardens, because then what we get, look at this.
That's so good.
Is a nice crisp rim. If you take it right off the pan, that cheese is just going to melt away. But by letting it sit for just 5 minutes, you get this beautiful presentation. This isn't hard. I mean, crispy edge cheese. It's, like you were saying, it's my favorite part of pan pizza or lasagna. Yeah. Anything that has cheese that hits the pan, that's the best part. So a little bit of those sliced chives right over top. And it's not that hard to do. These are all ingredients that people are familiar with, but you get what looks like a really nice gourmet tuna melt. And you want this, don't you? I wish I could send it to you through the camera.
I do. I want it right now. That is not the tuna melt that I remember, so you did a really good job elevating that, Paul. So good. His recipe's on our website, cityline.tv.